spend any time really talking about this one because it's so bad. It's so bad. I was like totally fine too if it was just gonna be like smut. Like smut has a time and a place. That's fine. I feel so sorry for you if you finished that book because you thought it was gonna get better. I'm so sick of like creepy men because I was actually hoping to like join the fandom, right? I was hoping to like really like it. Girl, what are you doing? I love you. Hello friends, and welcome back to another video where I sit here and I do my makeup and I rant about something that frustrates me, is on my mind, what have you. I have a few things that I wanted to try out. This is not like, I'm not a makeup channel if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, but every now and then I like to just have a little chat and I feel like it's more interesting maybe for you guys. You had a hair on you. Let me just clean you. There you go. I have a few things in that I want to try that I'm really curious about that I picked up from Ulta recently. And so I thought I would sit here and try those things out with you while I rant about publishing and books because I have a lot of thoughts. Two of the things I want to try are a little Ulta Beauty eyeshadow. I realized I have no brown eyeshadows. I'm not sure how that happened when I have brown eyes. This is Coffee Bean, just one of the Ulta collection eyeshadows. And then for skin, I actually don't wear foundation. I literally only have a concealer. And I don't know why you guys are so obsessed with this Tarte, the Shape Tape concealer. Mine has started to oxidize. Look at that orange line. I don't know. It's very annoying though. Anyway, I wanted to try out this Fenty Beauty, what is this? Ease Drop Blurring Skin Tint. I do have, you know, like some acne scars and lots of like freckles and a little bit of like, what do they call it? Hyperpigmentation? Is that what it is when it's like freckles, but they're like blown out? So I do like something that offers a little bit of coverage, but nothing crazy. I have this in the shade number 4. So we'll see if that's right because I always just buy things online. I have never tried Rihanna's brand before, so I'm very curious. It's gonna have very light coverage, I'm sure, but that's kind of what I like. I probably should have like collected my thoughts on this before I sat down to film, but here we are. The first book that I want to talk about that I ranted about I can't remember when I read it. It was sometime last year, and so you would have seen it if you are subscribed to me. You would have seen it in one of my videos. Oh, that did not come out in little individual drops. The Deer and the Dragon by Piper C.J. This was one that was pitched as kind of a fantasy, like urban fantasy. The cover is really cool. I think I actually donated it or sold it, so I don't even have the cover to like, I don't have the book here to show you because I was obviously like annoyed by it and I didn't want to keep it anymore. I don't like keeping books on my shelves that I didn't enjoy. So it's kind of pitched as this like, were they Greek gods? I don't even remember. My main issue with it was in the disclaimer at the beginning of the book, because the author writes a disclaimer at the beginning of the book, which is already kind of odd or like a little bit strange because I feel like you should just let the writing like and the story speak for itself. But she had a disclaimer. She talked about a couple of things. So her main character is a sex worker and I can't remember her name now. Like I said, it's been too long since I read. In the disclaimer, she is like, I am trying to destigmatize sex work. She specifically mentions that in the disclaimer. I think that that's great if you want to destigmatize something. The problem is that in the book, in the writing, in the actual story, she doesn't do that. If anything, she romanticizes it, which I feel like is like a really not great thing to do. It's going to give women a very skewed idea of what it would mean to be in that industry. I know I'm curious about this. I need to do more research, but I've looked it up before, and apparently a lot of women who are in that industry, it's because they're forced into that industry. It's not very often a choice, and a lot of times these women are like drug addicts, or they will turn to drugs in order to deal with the situations that they're in. Sometimes it's a very unsafe situation. So I didn't appreciate the way that it was actually written about. So I feel like the author did not accomplish what she set out to accomplish. The main character is really annoying too. Like, she's very narcissistic. She's very kind of like materialistic. It's also kind of like autofiction. I felt like it was very much like a thinly veiled kind of fantasy version of an author or a life that the author would want to live. The main character is an author. There was a lot of things about like religious trauma that she had experienced in her real life that she talked about in either the disclaimer or her like little biography at the back of the book. It's obviously okay to write about your own experiences, of course, but it's not written all that well. I was totally fine if it was gonna be like, you know, not the best writing, which is like odd because she'd already published literally a trilogy before that. So very light coverage on this. Very light. I don't know what mark it was trying to hit. I mean, I guess I do because she literally explains in the disclaimer what she's trying to do. There's literally a scene, oh, I forget how heavy this is, but there's a scene where she goes to a job. So like an episode of Friends is on the TV. I think it's like the Thanksgiving episode. And the main character basically like disassociates while it's all happening, and she, you know, separates herself from her body. At the end of the night, she's like, that was so great. He bought me a meal. It was like a really expensive, some astronomical number, like $600 for dinner or something like that. You know, I got a free meal out of it and I got to watch my favorite episode of Friends. What a great night. No, that's not what just happened. It was like the author didn't realize what she'd written, and then also like, how does your literary agent or does somebody like your editor, how does your editor not be like, that's not what you wrote though? Like, she disassociates in that scene. It was just so weird. I was like, girl, you've done the opposite of what you thought you were doing. The side characters were pretty annoying, not gonna lie. They all kind of have, you know how like when an author will write a character and they have like one little weird thing, one little quirk that makes them unique, and that's like their whole personality. That's exactly what this was like. It's a really random ending. I was like totally fine too if it was just gonna be like smut. Like smut has a time and a place, that's fine. But this wasn't that. Like it starts off where you think that she has this like fantasy, this imagined like scene where she feels like he's supposed to be like the Prince of Hell, like comes up behind her and she's like pressed up against a glass wall. Like you're like, oh, it's gonna be like that. And then but it doesn't turn out to be like that. Like the book's not really like, I didn't find it to be particularly sexy. So I'm just like, what? Like the trilogy apparently. And I was like, definitely not gonna finish this, unfortunately. I do think Sarah J. Maas fans will like it. I don't really feel like there's like this overall big message that we should be getting. They're just not typically, they're not literary because they're very commercial. And that's fine because that's what they are. I just always find myself a little bit disappointed with those. So I guess I just need to stop reading them. I'm gonna try this crazy color. I purposefully bought this blush in a color that's like deeper than what I would need or what I would naturally wear. This is the Say blush, their little dew blush in the color Chili. I felt like a lot of the book was like conversation, like them talking at their apartment or them talking in the car or then them talking at a coffee shop. And I'm like, when is something gonna happen? Are we gonna get to the plot anytime soon? Like, what's going on? And I always find that that's really annoying because it's like, I feel like I'm wasting my time as the reader. Like, as an author, you should be more respectful of your reader's time because they literally picked up your book and they could have picked up any book, you know? Are you hiding? Baby, they can't see you and you're so cute. Just look at him. Speaking of Sarah J. Maas, I also did not like Throne of Glass. Hear me out. I'm not trying to just be that girly who's like,
I'm different. I don't like the book that everybody else likes.
I read it. I did a whole reading vlog on it because I was actually hoping to like join the fandom, right? I was hoping to like really like it. And what ended up happening was the premise is just silly. This idea that, I'm just going in with that eyeshadow, but the premise is like Serena. Sriracha. Okay, well anyway, she is like the bad assassin, knife wielding, cool girl of the land. She's literally in like prison or something in the opening scene. some kind of like labor camp. And then she is able to fight for her freedom in this competition. I mean, you guys know the synopsis of this book. But the whole premise is just silly because the entire time we know that she is the best in all the land. We're told that over and over again. And she has to like fight against like 24 other people, or maybe it's like 24 people total. Kind of like Hunger Games style, like competition. But it's like we know that she's the best. So we're kind of told that she's like holding herself back the whole time. This is why the concept was silly to me. If it's well known that she's the best in all the land, then there's no need for a competition. And that's what the entire book focuses on. I mean, most of it, probably like 60 or 70% of it. So it just felt silly. It didn't feel like in something like the Hunger Games where you have to have the competition because it's tradition. It's been happening for like 100 years or whatever. The Hunger Games exists because there's a whole system in place. Like it is literally how the entire world is run now. And I know that's gonna offend some people, and I know that it's like a fun thing to read about. There are plenty of young adult, new adult type books where that is the main premise, is some sort of like competition. But I just felt like it was a little bit unnecessary and kind of silly. I'm gonna do this and not talk because I'm not gonna be able to do it at the same time. What's the other one she's real famous for? Akatar. I didn't love that one either. Moving on from that, OMG, Icebreaker. I don't even want to spend any time really talking about this one because it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so annoying. How do people do this? Like really, how do people talk and do their makeup at the same time? If you're like a makeup person and you have like a makeup channel, like how? Okay, that's just gonna have to be good enough. I'm sorry if it looks horrible. I don't understand how that book sold 1 million copies. I think it's probably one of those situations where people like me were just curious about the hype. And luckily I listened to it on Spotify, so I did not waste any money because I get like 15 hours of audiobook listening time on Spotify every month or whatever. And to be honest, this one I did not finish. It was that bad. It was so poorly written. The characters were like Gossip Girl, copycat, cardboard cutout, horrible one-dimensional characters. That book literally, I don't understand how it sold 1 million copies, again, other than to say like it was just like people being curious about it. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. I feel so sorry for you. If you finished that book because you thought it was going to get better. I did not continue because I was pretty certain it was not going to get any better. You don't pick up that book for the writing, and you don't pick up a book like that for its literary merit. You pick up a book like that because it's smut and you want to read smut. And I very quickly learned I very quickly learned that that's what it was. And I'm not knocking the book for being what it is. I just feel like you can write romance, you can write smut, but do it well. But actually write good characters, actually write a good story, a compelling story. Don't just mash all of these like spicy scenes in between just garbage, just hot garbage. Like that's just not, you're not being very respectful of your reader, in my opinion, if you do that. There's no reason why you can't write a good book and a compelling story just because you're also writing really spicy smut scenes. I couldn't do it. I think I maybe made it 25% of the way through, maybe 30, maybe like a third of the way through. Jack Edwards. He did a whole video recently on cartoon cover romances and how they put forth a certain vibe, and it's really not always, it's usually not what you're actually getting. Like you're getting a book that is like proper raunchy, but it looks like you're getting almost like not a children's book, but kind of. Like you look like you're getting something that's very sweet, but the contents of the book is actually really vulgar and it's very misleading. And I'm not even going to talk about the Jane Austen covers. I can't. She is rolling in her grave at those covers. Can you tell that I learned to do my makeup from watching YouTube tutorials? And so I really don't know what I'm doing. I just copy what I see people doing. Oh, The Coven. Oh my god. This was another DNF. I'm so sick of like creepy men in romance books. I can't do it. I don't want, I DNF'd this one at about the 33% mark, but the girl, she has just joined the coven or whatever like little academy it is. So she's like moved to the house, like whatever the house is, wherever they're living. But he comes into her room. So she like went to bed in her normal clothes that she was wearing like during the day. And he, to be considerate, like special ordered these like really nice pajamas. And so he goes into her room. She's asleep on the bed, like fully passed out. And he starts to like, I don't even want to like say it out loud. He starts to like undress her, and all in an attempt, you know, to put her in these really nice pajamas because she deserves these really nice pajamas. And he starts like getting turned on. I'm literally like trying to whisper because my window's open and I feel like my neighbors are gonna hear me talking about like weird stuff. Then he comes to his senses and he realizes like,
I should probably like wait till she's conscious to like
do whatever he was gonna do. I mean, what was he gonna do? Was he just gonna undress her? I don't know. I just feel like I don't like romance books where the guy gives off vibes. Why do we need that? Maybe that's like you know, a fetish for some people, but I just feel like books like that should come with like a warning or something, like some sort of a label or something. That's just like it's really gross. It's really gross. Anyway, I had other books that I was going to talk about, but I'm now done with my makeup except for lip gloss. I don't actually recommend this one. This little lip plumping one from Patrick Ta. It's very drying, but I spent money on it, so here we are using it. I was going to talk about a few other books, but maybe I can save those for a future video. I do like the shine. Publishers will publish anything that they think will sell. Publishing is a business, right? They're not going to buy somebody's book if they don't think that they can sell it. I guess this is the part that I struggle with the most, that I'm trying to like come to terms with as somebody who wants to be traditionally published. I have a whole like writing playlist for Project Souls that I'm currently working on. It's my dark academic adult fantasy book. What I'm coming to terms with is that publishers at the end of the day don't really care about your writing, like the quality of your writing, because unless we're talking about just straight up literary fiction, you can actually write crap. You can write actual like hot garbage and it's fine, it'll be published. You can still get traditionally published that way, and it makes me very sad because it makes me worried that if I don't write something, even if it's like really well written, if I don't write something that like, you know, a particular team, a particular publishing house doesn't think will sell, then I won't get published. And that's like one of my biggest dreams in life. And I know I can self-publish, and that's a whole other journey that maybe I end up going on, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes books are written so poorly and like maybe we're just supposed to ignore it. I don't know. I think I need to come back in another video with hair that doesn't need to be washed. And some more like really coherent thoughts, and then come back and let you guys know what I'm really thinking and feeling, because I feel like I still have really like tangled thoughts about all of this. But anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.